So today we are going to discuss control structures and decision making in VB.NET. Before we start the whole practical aspect, we would, I would like us to go through some or get some understanding on what control structures are in programming. All right. So basically, control structures, you know, in every program that you write, okay, in every algorithm or every program that you write, there's a flow, there's a structure of flow in every program that you write. Okay, basically they constitute the logic aspect of your program. Okay, so in your day-to-day activities, there are a lot of decisions that you make. Okay, when you wake up from your bed till you get to your school or you get to your office or wherever you want to go, there are a lot of decisions that you make on the way. So same way, if you are given a certain um let's say a project to do in the project, no, program is a lifestyle. So if you are doing it and it come to a point where you need to consider some one or two steps or something within your flow, that is where we employ control structures. Okay, so over here we are saying that control structures are programming constructs that allow you to control the flow of execution in your program. They determine the order in which statements are executed, and they enable you to make effective decisions in your code. Basically that is it. Okay, and some of them are the conditional statement, that is the if statement and the select case statement, and have the looping construct as well, that is the for while and do loops. Okay, so in the subsequent presentation I'm going to walk you through some of the syntaxes of these conditional and the looping construct. Then there are some examples that I've prepared here. So what I'll do is I'll copy them and paste them in the VB environment, the console environment, then run it to test the example. Okay, so when you are done, there is final kind of assignment, or try hands on something. Then we also work on that one and see how best we can also manipulate or use these control structures to our best advantage. Okay, so the next slide, the if statement. We are saying that the if statements are used for making decisions based on a condition. So depending on whether the condition is true or false, specific blocks of code that will be executed. So the syntax is this. So with the syntax, you realize that, or you can observe or see that if the condition, that is the condition. So the condition can be if A is equal to B, or if A is equal to 1, or if A is something something. All right, that's the condition. So A equal to something is the condition that you are testing. All right, so if A is actually A, that's your one, like actually what you want, it means the condition is positive, is true, then this code blocks should execute. Okay, so when it's true, this execution should take place, but when it's false, then the next one takes place. So this is an if else condition. All right, if else syntax or if else statement. Okay, so we have the if statement, the if else, we have the if else if, we have the nested ifs and other things. Okay, so depending on how you are working, the project that you are working on determines which of them that you are going to use. Okay, then we come to the select statement. So with the select statement, this is how the syntax is. So they are used to test variables against a list of values. Okay, it's an alternative. It's an alternative to multiple if else statements, just as I mentioned. Okay, so with this one, the syntax here is, so select case and the variable. Okay, so select case, the variable. So this variable mostly comes from the user input or the variable you are trying to test, or the value that you're trying to test. So if let's say you want to test a certain value held in a variable A, okay, then here the syntax here is the select case, then the variable name that you define here will be here. Okay, so then case, if that value here, this variable here is this value, then could execute this code. Then case L, that's a case else. Okay, it's another case. So case, sorry, this is another case. So we have very different values that you can test. So case if, let's say the variable is A, and you are testing if A is equal to 1. Okay, then you say that, okay, if the one if case, the value A is equal to 1, then execute something here. All right, if A is equal to 2, then execute this one here. Else, if a is not any of them, any of the above, then you display this condition here too. Okay, so this is how the select case variable also works. The syntax also works. Sorry. All right. So this is how the select case syntax also is. This is how it looks like. Okay, this is a structure of the select case. Okay. So now let's see the loops. So the for loops are used to execute a block of code. Okay, it's used to execute a block of code a specified number of times. Okay. So for example, if you want to get the list of numbers from 1 to 10, this is how the code is. So for I as integer equal to 1 to 10. All right. Execute. So this one will loop the numbers from 1 through to 10. Okay, so that is what we use the for loop for. So anytime you know in your code you want to loop through a certain block to either sum up something for you or whatever you want to do, that is where we use the for loop. Okay, so when you are sometimes when you are developing or when you are doing or want to create a multiplication table, for instance, we use a nested for loop to do that. Okay, so the for loop also has its own nested for loops. Okay, so that is how the for loop also. Okay, so we have the while loop. Okay, while loop. These are used to repeatedly execute a block of code as long as the condition is true. All right, so this is a bit different from the for loop. Let's see the syntax. So you're saying that while the condition, so just as the if statement and the select statement, the condition is what you are testing. Okay, so while the condition is true, execute your code. Okay, or code to execute as long as the condition is true. Okay, so if we are saying that um you are let's say looping you are looping some count, okay, number count from 1 to 10, and we're saying that so far as the count is less than 10 you should loop. Then the loop will loop until the count is less than 10, then it will stop. So if you start from 0, when it gets to 9 it will stop because 9 as an integer, okay, is less than 10 and 10 is not less than 10. Okay, so that is how it is. Now let's see the do while loop. This is similar to the while loop, but the condition is checked after the loop body is executed. All right, so this is the do while loop. Okay, that's the syntax. Then you have the do until, that's the syntax too. All right, so now let's check some of the examples. So if let's say for the first one, the if statement. With the if statement, let's say you want to test if this integer is actually 5. Okay, all right, so if this integer is what is greater than is positive or negative. That's what this example is about. So if you remember that previous tutorial, we walked through some of the declaration, how to declare a variable in VB. So here I'm declaring a variable num here as an integer, which is, and I've assigned 5 to that variable num, and I'm testing the num. If the num variable here is greater than 0, means it's positive, then it should display the number is positive for me. Else, if the number is equal to 0, then it should display the number is equal to 0. Else, so else means if all this condition above is not true, then definitely the number is negative. All right, so this is an example of how to apply the if statement in your work. However, I'm going to copy this code and paste it in the VB environment for us to see how effective this one is, whether there's an error or not. So let's go to the second example. The second example has to do with the select case statement, right? So just as the if statement does. So here, assuming you ask the client or you ask the user to input an integer, all right? So here, the input integer is 3. Okay, then you check. Now I want to check the day, the position of the day. So if day 1 is Monday, day 2 is Tuesday, day 3 is Wednesday, or you see, for this example, we're starting from Sunday. So if the 3 here, we want to know which of the day belongs to the 3. So we set this one, the variable here as day of week, as integer. So case, if you remember the select case syntax, we have the select case and the variable here. So this variable is a user defined one. This variable is a user defined one. All right. So I'm testing this case if the number received here, the value is 1, it should display Sunday for me. If it's 2, it should display Monday. If it's 3, Tuesday. Likewise and likewise. Else, if all of them are not met, then you should display invalid day of the week. All right. So this is the syntax of the select case. Let's see the for loops. So there with the for loops, if you want to iterate or if you want to move, load or display the number of integer values from 1 to 5 using the for loop, this is the structure. Okay, this is the structure. So you write this for I as integer equal to 1 to 5. Okay, then the console.write line here, we are saying the iteration, then we bring the concatenations and then bring the I here. So this one is to display iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3, iteration 4, and iteration 5. Okay, so that is how this loop is going to work. Then we come to the while loop. To the while loop, we are saying that we test the condition, then we loop. So far as the condition is not met, we are going to loop the code. All right. So here too, we are saying that the first counter, we declare the variable here as integer and assigned it to 0. Okay. Then we are saying that whilst the count value here, the variable here is less than 5, it should load. So as soon as it loads number 1, it should now increase the count value from 0 to 1. So you should add 1 to the count variable. This is what this sign, this portion means. Okay, count plus or equal to, and the same as count equal to count plus 1. Okay, but this is the short notation. This is the short notation, how we can shorten it. Okay, so it means that as soon as the code runs from the top here, count is equal to 0, and when the loop starts, in the first place count is still 0, so it's count 0, yes, then it should load. Then when it comes to the next stage, we are saying that add 1 to the count value. So now 1 has moved from 0 to 0 plus 1, so now 1 count is 1. Then it tests again. Okay, so when it testing again, it will now check 1, and now count is 1. Is 1 less than 5? Yes, then it should now display the value again. So you appreciate this one the more when you go into the VB environment. Okay. All right. So this is the example that I'll say I'm going to test after we test the other examples. All right. So we test this one using the if statement and the select statement. Okay, so let me exit from here. Let me exit the presentation mode. Then now move to the examples. Okay, so this example. So let me create a project. So I click on this project, create project. Then I'll search for console lab, VB console. Okay, I'll search for VB console. So VB console application. Project creating, yeah. Then I'll go to next. Then I'll go to next. Then I go to create. Okay. Yeah, our project has been created for us. So now what I said was we are going to declare all this one. Then let me increase the font here. So we'll clear all. Then what we do is to the code, copy this and paste them here. Okay, so that's the code. So you're saying that them num equal to 5, then if num is greater than 0, then it should display positive. Else if num is this, it should display 0, else it should display negative. So now so far as 5 is greater than 0, it should go to display positive, number is positive for us. All right, so I'll click on this button, console app, the application name. Then it's now straightforward. It tells me that the number is positive. Okay, so what we do is we say the number is positive. All right, so what we'll do is let's add so far as we didn't test the less than, let's write yeah, -5 and run. So -5 will display as the number is negative because it's lesser than 0. Okay, so that is the if statement, how simple we do it. So in the example that you're going to create, it's a bit complex, so we will now understand it the most. Okay, so this is the example that we walk through in there. So now let me clear this one again and test the select case and see how it also runs. So here, I come down here. Okay, so I'll copy this one, I'll copy this code, then paste it at the code area. So from the onset, we see that there is no error in the code. So just as I explained earlier, here what you want to do is you want to test the day, the variable day of week. Okay, and we've assigned it to 3. So we now test the variable. So if sorry, select case day of the week variable. Okay, so case 1 display Sunday, case 2 display Monday, case else. So what you're going to do is let's change or let's run it first before we change the variable, the number. Okay, the variable value. So let's run this one first. So when you run it, because it's 3, it's indicating Tuesday. Okay, now let's see in the code. In the code, 3 is what? Case 3 is Tuesday. All right, so now let's bring 31 here. Okay, apparently 31 is not part of the values we are testing. Okay, so apparently we're supposed to display this one to us invalid day of week. So let's see if it's going to give us the same thing. Fantastic. So it's giving us invalid day of the week. All right, so that is how the select also works. Okay, all right, so let's quickly do the for loop. Okay, copy and paste. So let's do for the for loop as well. So for the for loop, this is just copy and paste. So if you watch the video, okay, if you are watching the video, just take your time and go through the first the PowerPoint page. Then you can just do copy and paste too, or you can just watch it and type it in your code to test it. Okay, so I'll do the last one, the for loop, and you see the iteration. Then we'll go and now run the example, the last example that was given like an assignment. So we're going to run that one and see how that one also works. Okay, so for the for loop, as I explained, when I run this one, it's going to display iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3 to number 5. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we're having iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3, iteration 4, iteration 5, just as explained. Okay, all right. So now let's go to the agenda of the day. So the agenda of the day is what? Let me first prepare our page. The agenda of the day is this one. So we are to write a VB.NET console application to accept a value, okay, and display the grade of the value using the if and the select statements. The grading system should be as follows. So 0 to 9 F, 50 to 75 C, 76 to 85 B, 86 to 100 A. Okay, so let's see. So you are saying you should accept. So it means you have to now introduce the user input. So we should allow the user to enter something, then we will take from that side. Okay, so what we are going to do is this. Now let's start. So in starting, you start by trying to declare a variable. So then let's say user value as decimal. Don't forget that the decimal data type accept um, the decimal data type accept both integer and decimal values. Okay, so I'll display that one. Then now come and tell the user to enter a value. So enter the score, the exam score. Okay, then we receive the value from here. So we'll say user value equal to console dot read line. Okay, so now we have the value. Okay, so we declare the variable, and now we are having the value here. So console dot read line will display this question or this request to the user. The user will key in whatever score. Then we use this line 8 to accept the user input. Okay, all right. So now, just as we have received the user input, now let's test the condition. Okay, let's create our logic. So we are saying that if user value is equal to the first one, let me copy them. Let me copy these for easy access. So let me copy them and paste them here. Okay, then rem them. So I'm going to comment on all of them. Okay, so fantastic. So if it is okay, starting from the bottom. So if it is 86 is equal to 86, or we can say greater than or equal to 86, and user value is less than or equal to 100, then it should display something. Okay, so what is it going to display? So we will say that it should display console dot write line. Okay, all right. So we should display this. The grade is A. Okay. Else if user value is greater than greater than or equal to 76, and user value is less than or equal to 85, then it should also display something. Okay, so you should, let me just copy this and paste it here. So it should display B. So no. So what I can do here is, let me just copy and paste them. So another one, let me first copy this and paste them here, and copy the last one and paste. So we have here the 76 here. Now here will be 50 and 75. Then we have 0 to 49. So here will be C, and here will be D. Sorry, F. Okay. So now I'll clear my comment here to have a precise workspace. Okay, good. Fantastic. So let me bring this one here. Now here, okay, now I can explain the thing. All right, so let's go through what I have done so far. So what I did is I displayed this to the user, line 7 to the user, enter exam score. Then I received the value that was accepted, that was keyed by the user. Okay, so the user value was accepted and assigned to the user value. Now I test the user value. So we test if the value is greater than or equal to 86, and if the user value is less than 100, so it means from 86 to 100, it is A. You should display this grid for us. From 76 to 85, okay, it should display this, what do you call it? It should display 85. Sorry, it is display B. And when the user value is 50, between 50, okay, from 50 to 75, it should display C. And from 0 to 49, okay, it should display F. Okay, so someone may say that what happens to 85.1.2.3.4? We are not considering the decimals. Okay, but we declare the value as decimal, so it means we should also think of considering the decimal value. So here, if we are to do that, then we can say that let's peg this one to, but according to the question. So if you are going by the question, we can let's leave it like this. Okay, let's leave it like this. Then we come and correct it in the next after we have tested it. Okay, so now let's run the application. So let's run the application. So when you run, I'll enter the score. So I'll enter 76. Then it tells me the grade is B. Okay, so let's go and check 76. So 76 definitely to be B. All right, so let's go and check again. So 89. 89 is grade A. So 89 is grade A. 89 is here. So it's grade A. So now let's go and check 85.5. So 85.5. It didn't give us any value, which is true because the example that we have given here doesn't cater for that one. All right. So what we are going to do now is this from the bottom. It is starting from 0 to 49. All right, and the next one is starting from 50. So here we can make it, if it is less than 50, so from 0 to 49, that is what this side means. Then this one will start from greater than or equal to 52 when it's less than 76. Okay, so it means 76 is not part of the group. Then we come to the top here and we say that if it is less than 86, it means 86 is not part of the group. But if you make it less than or equal to 86, then it means 86 is part. Then there will be a conflict at the top here. All right. So if the person enters there something that is above 100 or something that is below 0, it should throw an error to us. So in handling that error, we'll bring this one here, the else statement. So else console dot write line. Then we display to the user that please enter a valid number, okay, or enter a valid score. Okay, so we now make our work here, example here, more standard. Okay, so let's run this one. So when we run and I enter here 102, it should throw an error. So it's telling me that please enter a valid score. Okay, so let me test another one. So let's test, let's say 76 or 80, or let's say 65.7. 65.7, it says C. So now it's doing something. So 65.7 will be here. It's within this bracket. So it's now through the C to us. So this is a simple application on how to use the select statement. Sorry, the if statement. Okay, and here we've used the else if, and else. Okay, so you can combine them. You can combine them depending on the kind of work you are doing. All right. So this is the proper way to solve that example that we just worked on. So now let's try the select case. Okay, let's try the select case with using the same parameter. So I won't I won't clear it, right? I won't clear anything here. So what I'll do is I'll repeat this one in such a that when the first one is done, then the second set, when the if statement is done, then we run the select statement too. Okay, so what I'll do is let me just add a certain variable here. So user value 2. Okay, so user value 2. So I'll bring this one here as continuation. So enter exam score. Then this one is user value 2. So for the select, we are going to do this. So we are saying that select case user value 2. Okay, so case so the range is case 86 to 100 display something. So let me just copy the display A here. Okay, then case, what is the value? 76 to 85. So 76 to 85. Then that one too should display B. Then I'll go to another case 50 to 75. So case 50 to 75 display C. Then we test the other one, case, what, this is 0 to 49. So case 0 to 49, it should display F. Then we come here and say case else if all of them are wrong, then it should display this last one for us. Okay, so case else this. All right, so now this is how simple it is. All right, so let me walk you through in explaining the solution that I've just provided. So here you display this value to this question to the user. The user provide the answer, okay, by entering the decimal value or the score, the exam score. Then you have the user value variable here. Now we test the variable just as we tested the variable in the if statement. So here we are going to now test. When we're testing that one, we are saying that if the value entered is between this range, you should display this. Between this range, that is the cases. If they are within that range, then they should display the expected grade as such. Else, if all the above here are not correct, then you should display this value to us here. Okay, so now let's run the application and see how effective these two things will work. So now I'm going to enter 78.45. It's giving us B. So now that's it for the if. Okay, so now let's test the same way. 78.45. It's also giving us the B. Do you get it? So the two examples are all correct. Do you get it? The two examples are all correct. Okay. So this is a simple example of the if and the select case. Okay, which answers the question that was given here. So write a VB console application to accept a value and display the grade of the value using the if and the select statement. The grade system is as follows this, and that is exactly what we have produced here. Okay, and they are working exactly as expected. All right, so I'll end here. Then in our next tutorials, we are going to introduce the arrays. We are going to introduce the arrays. Then after that one, probably we'll be starting the graphical user interface very soon. Okay. So okay, from the arrays, then we'll do functions. Then after functions, we now go to the graphical user interface. So I'll end here, okay, and prepare us for the next tutorial. And one more thing, please, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, kindly do well to subscribe to the channel. Okay, it's a normal no. Kindly do well to subscribe to the channel. All right, bye bye.